Greetings, gamers! Welcome to part 46 of my Let's Play Fire Emblem 10, Radiant Dawn. And in today's episode, we find out more about this so-called contract that good old King Pelias, that wise young man, signed in his utter ignorance and stupidity and loyalty to a man who was clearly untrustworthy. It goes to show and state that just because people are around you, family, friends, people you've known all your life, don't blindly trust folks. King Pelias, what then do you propose we do? Why, obey the Empire, of course. We have no other choice in the matter. As long as I follow the Senate's orders, no one will die because of me. No, I can't accept that. We have finally wrested our country back from that occupation forces. I'd rather be dead than have to bend to the will of the Empire. What are we, dogs? And now that Begnion is ordering Daein troops into battle, we are treated as disposable pawns. Many Daein citizens will die of this pact, whether we obey it or not. It would appear that I have been crowned king during the last days of Daein. You've been crowned fool. Follow or fight. The result is the same. We will be destroyed.
With all due respect, Your Majesty, we can't give up.
What?
You heard me. The only way to really be doomed is to give up.
Micaiah, there's no way out of the Blood Pact. None. What do you suggest we do?
Look for a way out. I know Duke Lacane says the pact can't be broken, but of course he'd say that. King Pelias, you have the resources of an entire country to draw on, and the best of reasons to do so. Check the Royal Library. Check the archives. Somewhere. I'm sure you'll find something. Just don't give up.
Micaiah, forgive me. I was so overwhelmed that I let myself give in to despair. But you're absolutely right. We can't give up just yet. We have people to save. Unfortunately, we don't have much time. Begnion will not put off triggering the Blood Pact until after we've found a way to break it.
We can make time. If we take on the Empress and the Legu's forces, it'll look as if we're obeying the Senate. In the meantime, you can research the pact.
Alright, I'll start immediately. Just give me as much time as you can.
Of course, we'll do our best to hold them back, whatever it takes.
Okay, back to the Dawn Brigade. Only saw them once before this chapter, and now we're seeing them again. I have to head back to the castle. I have to know if there is a way to break free of the Blood Pact.
Please be careful.
Please, Micaiah, stop being so kind to me. It's too difficult for me.
I can feel how you've suffered. You've had it to endure it all alone for so long. It's ghastly.
It was my fault. I brought this curse upon Daein.
No, you didn't know. I will protect Daein. I'll protect our country from harm. No matter what happens, you have my word.
Micaiah, very well. I won't give up. We'll fight destiny together.
Yes.
I want you to take this. I found another one in the treasure room of the castle. Stand fast, Micaiah. I will find a way to save Daein. Another Master Crown. Nice. Soth. Hello, General. I thought you were going to leave the army, taking Lady Micaiah with you. I was, but now we can't. Both Micaiah and I are from Daein. We can't abandon our own country. I wonder if it's the same if you leave Daein. I don't understand. If you abandoned Daein and fought on the side of a different country, I wonder if you'd still be cursed. Who knows? I'm not a sage. In any case, it doesn't matter. Micaiah would never leave Daein behind. I see. So, here, take these. Why are you giving me these? I kept them as a parting gift to you. Since you're staying, I'd like you to take them now. General. Boots. I totally forgot when you do obtain those. That's actually very nice. Usually I give those to my dancer of choice, and that would be Rayson. The problem is that he already has so much movement. I don't know that that would necessarily be something that I would need. I'm going to consider it. He is likely one of 3 or 4 candidates I can think of in my head who would be great for such an item. Otherwise, who knows? These are all the funds we have for the near future. The problem now is stopping the Apostles' army from advancing.
Conventional tactics won't slow them down. They'll easily break through our lines. What should we do?
Micaiah, are you all right? I'll leave the gold here. You're still not completely recovered yet. You have to rest, Micaiah.
I'll try.
Keep safe.
10,000 more gold. Telling you, this is the richest party in your game.
Nolan, sorry to keep you waiting. Hey, Zoth. Don't worry. I was reading while I waited. I didn't realize you were such a dedicated reader, Nolan. It's human nature to crave knowledge. I thought you would know that as well as anyone. How is Micaiah, by the way? Is she doing well? Yeah, I believe so. She's alert, and she seems generally stronger. I see. Well, that's good, right? Sorry to make you worry. Don't mention it. And I brought this for you. Hey now, this is a good axe. Must have cost you a fair bit. Thanks. Nolan, Don't force it. You'll only hurt yourself. What? You look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're wondering if you should tell me, right? Right. The best thing to do is think it over. Give it some time to sit. Later, if you decide you want to tell me, you know exactly where to find me. I will. Thanks, Nolan. Anytime. A tomahawk. Yay. Love me a good old tomahawk.
There she is. Hey, lady. Who? Oh, Nico. This is great. I was hoping I'd find you.
Nico, mind your manners. The silver-haired maiden is the savior of Daein. She's not just some lady.
Oh, it's all right. I'm still the same simple girl from Daein you met before. Nothing's changed. So are things well with you?
Well, the fighting's got everyone worried. Coming so soon after the last war and all, but we're doing all we can for Daein. Doesn't matter who or what we're up against. Believe me when I tell you, we'll never give up.
That's right. We won't ever give up, ever. I know we're gonna win, too, because we've got you on our side. That's what everybody says. The Dawn Brigade will save us.
Is that what they say?
I see. Listen to me, Nico. You can believe in us. I promise we'll keep you safe. I knew it.
Come along, Nico. We should be going. The maiden's got better things to do than stand here chatting with us all day.
Bye, lady. See you later.
Yes. Goodbye, Nico. I want to save them all. The world is a better place with people like them in it.
I know how you feel, Micaiah, but you're also a little girl, not a general. That's why we started all this. We've always been fighting for them. But this war we're in, it's not just we're fighting on the wrong side.
I know. I don't want to see anyone die. It's ironic. I'm killing with no malice, because I don't want anyone to be killed. Interesting thought there.
What am I supposed to do?
Am I supposed to stand back and let all of Daein perish? Is that the just thing to do? If that's what it takes to be just, then I want nothing to do with justice. I'd rather be hated and feared like Mad King Ashnard. I'd rather the Dark God take my soul. I'm going to save my people, Soth. If the rest of the world paints me as a beast to be reviled and hated, so be it. If you must murder to save the lives of innocents... See, we're not talking about killing in self-defense. Murder is not killing in self-defense. The Daein army is not killing in self-defense. They are murdering. If you must murder to save the innocent, you are not doing anything just, and your justice is waste. It's why I say it's very obvious which side is the bad guys. So in technicality, even though Three Houses is the first legitimate game to allow you to actually play as the bad guys, though some people will say they're gray, not dark. They're not totally evil. No, they're definitely evil. The bad guy route in that game. The fact of the matter is that Radiant Dawn already had this. You could play as the bad guys. They're dressed up as if they're not, and they're far and away less diminutively addressed as bad guys. But the fact of the matter is the Daein army have not really changed in all of the wonderful time that is good old Path of Radiance to Radiant Dawn. Volug, they can't raise his support. I'm not really going to be using Volug much more. I mean, honestly, I'm not using much of any of these characters anymore, so there is that. However, with everything that I have done, I must go
and continue the off-screen setting up of my armies and everything I must do in order to make my units ready for the next chapter. I will see you in just a few. Welcome back, gamers. Yes, I'm looking at the bargains for a moment, because there is a beast killer here if you have run out of your beast killer. Or killers, I should say, because you do get 2 before this point. So I'm guessing this is the last one in the game. Not truly sure. But these are the cards that are relatively decent on power. Again, I don't particularly think I would ever see a potential use for this. They tried something new. They tried making interesting and unique weapon types in this particular game. Like, for instance, knives being an actual weapon and not just a throwaway thing in Path of Radiance or a non-functioning thing in pretty much the rest of the game, rest of the series. I don't think knives have ever made a return. Granted, I don't play some of the 3DS and newer games, so I don't really know particularly that much about it, but here we have the Taksh, which is a crossbow that's in between the crossbow itself, as well as the Aquar, which is kind of weird because it's supposedly a high crit weapon, but it only has 10 crit. I find this very strange, but it is there if you want it. I do have one very important thing to tend to, and that is Turonio. So I'm going to be master crowning him. I have given him his 6 levels through bonus experience points. Pretty satisfactory, having max speed, max resistance, decent skill. His growth rates aren't fantastic concerning defense, but that doesn't particularly matter. And as you can see, I've given him swords. Now this is going to seem strange because he can only use lances and axes, but all generals upon promotion can use swords, lances, or axes. It's just that only one of them is going to be able to have a double S rank. And basically that's whatever one has an S rank going in. So that's lances. He can only have double S in lances, and he can have, I believe, an S in axes, and then an A in swords. So you might be wondering why I'm doing this. Depending on what weapon level he gets there, if he gets a C, as I think he's going to, I am going to continue with this plan. I plan on using nothing but swords so that he can use the Tempest Blade as his preferred endgame weapon. Now, the reason why I'm doing this instead of something like a tomahawk or whatever is just because I think it would be cool. Personally, I like the idea of more 1-2 range swords on the team. Granted, I have also considered just giving him a tomahawk or making a powerful, particularly powerful throwing axe forge again, like I did, for instance, with the Thracian. So there is that to keep in mind. All of that's going to become relevant later on. So I'm just going to use this Master Crown, and we get to witness a beautiful, wonderful class change from Lance General to Marshal Turonio. Now granted, he did not have max strength, so his strength buff here isn't as great as I would have liked it to be, but his stats are pretty wildly good for this point in the game. He is going to be quite a bit of a linchpin, and yes, he only comes with a D rank in swords. This is actually really unfortunate. So I was thinking that because I do not have any need for the arm scrolls, I could use them on him. But being honest here, I'm unsure that I necessarily want to do that. Now, the reason I say this is because the fact of the matter is that I think
technically, javelins and hand axes are far and away better. I mean, hand axes are just better throwing weapons in general because they start at 70 hit, whereas javelins start at 65. Wind edges start at 60, which is incredibly unfortunate. What's also unfortunate is you can't forge wind edges. I find this to be the most egregious thing about the forging system in this game, is that it is not conducive to the sword users. It's almost like the devs at Intelligent Systems were like, well, wind edges are going to be way too powerful. And it's kind of the opposite effect. Hand axes are so absolutely busted in comparison to either javelins or wind edges that it's like, why would you use anything else? I'm halfway tempted to just go through and nix the whole idea and just give him axes. And I say this unfortunately because even with his max skill, the Tempest Blade only has a 50 hit. I was thinking about how cool it would be because it is an 18 might weapon. You're not getting anything forged that's that strong. Even the mightiest of throwing axes can only have a 17? I think a 17 might, if I'm not mistaken. So they start with 9. You can add 5, so that's 14. And they can max out at +3. Which isn't even the best forge. It's the best, the best coin use. It's the best coin for damage if you want raw damage. Now, granted, I do have 3 coins in this convoy, which means I'm going to have more options to forge. I think it would probably be for the best to renege on my idea here with Tyronia. Only because, man, that's such a shame. I was hoping he would get a C rank in swords. I think it's the Paladins, when they promote, they get a C rank in their other weapon. That's truly unfortunate. With that being said, I am actually going to go and remanage some things real quick. I will be right back.
Back yet again with Tyronia revamped. The axes are just better weapons. I was thinking about it more and more, and I was jumping back and forth between whether I actually wanted to throw away the whole concept of using swords on him. But I was kind of not really happy about the fact that he got a D rank in swords. I could have looked that up, but either way, I reset. I ended up having to re-give him his bonus experience points level, so he has marginally different stats. Though skill, speed, and resistance still did cap, so that's not that big a deal. Halfway considering giving him the energy drop, because I doubt there's going to be anybody in my party who's going to need it in the endgame. So the thing is a lot of people would probably think, well, why aren't you giving him a double S rank for his endgame utility? The issue with that is that I only have one double S rank lance, and that is definitely going to Danved, not to Tyronia. So he's going to have to use something else. It's one of the reasons why I don't like the fact that in this game, you cannot choose what your double S rank is. You should just be able to. There should be no qualms about this, because if this was the case, I would be giving him a double S rank in sword, even if I had to use arm scrolls. 100%. Because then he would be able to use the double S rank sword, and it would just be better. Now he does have his resolve, so raises his skill and speed by 50% when he's at half his HP or less. And then he also gets adept, which is going to be great for when he is at half HP, and vantage also. I thought those would be cool combinations for him. With that, it is time to save and begin. Yes, okay, right. Save and begin the fight. It looks as if the Apostles' forces are using this road to avoid a head-on confrontation. I guess we were right in assuming that they don't necessarily want to fight. Micaiah, are you still set on this?
Are the rocks ready?
Yes, they're in position. General Mayo's forces have encountered General Ike's Legue's forces. The battle has begun. The decoy operation succeeded. The Apostle and her holy guards are heading this way.
All forces get in position. Our target is the Apostle. We will attack her while General Ike is distracted. If we let her through, her army will cross into Begnion. That will surely anger the Senate, and the Senate will move to destroy Daein. We must fight with everything we have so that Daein may live on.
But Micaiah, is this really necessary? Can't we avoid all of this fighting and somehow pretend to obey the Senate? Micaiah, it was you more than anyone else who used to hate plans like this.
The Apostle's army has incredible numbers. We wouldn't stand a chance taking them head-on. They would march right through us. We need to give Pelias more time, but if we hold back, the Senate will know we're up to something. For now, let's just try to draw this out a bit and stop the Apostle's army.
Lady Micaiah, your strength moves me.
What strength? She's using devious tactics to win. Oh my gosh.
Your strength moves me. You're such a strong general, using devious tactics and fighting heinously. Ooh, I shall not falter. Micaiah, all right, let's do it. Let's do it for our friends and for our country. We have visual confirmation on the Holy Guards. They're heading this way.
Oh, yeah.
All right, choose units.
Of course, I'm not bringing anybody who is totally unnecessary. For instance, like those yahoos. Aaron can go... I don't want to bring Laura, even though I would like the extra staff thing. But the problem is that she's not good. I only have one combatively great unit on this team, and then... which he is right here. Fantastically, I'm going to actually put him down here. I want to say these guys don't move down, but I also want to just force them to stay. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do there. So, one thing I love doing in this chapter, and I will definitely be doing, is I love taking my units and using them all to shove Micaiah as far over as absolutely possible. Is it Micaiah or Soth? No, it's Soth. Shoving Soth as far over as possible so that he can take over this space alongside Tyronio, and I can guard this bottom section and get as much experience points as possible, because good old Soth, Micaiah, and Tyronio are the only 3 permanent members of this team, and I am going to desperately need all of them to be at their best potential. So... let me go ahead and move Micaiah, because she most definitely can't shove. Oh, wait. She can? How can you shove Soth? Does he really weigh that little? Yes, he does. Wow. That would have been highly wasted had I not realized that I could shove him there. So in all technicality, this is actually a better strategy to perform if I was using more units to shove Soth. But as you can see, because you can't decide Soth's starting position, this is basically the best you've got. I want to say that I'm going to let them go. If it turns out... yeah, she's not capable of shoving, unfortunately. If it turns out that these guys over here go down and clog up this space, I am 100% going to have to restart this chapter and have them all wait until I have Soth come down here, because Soth cannot reach yet. He is still a little bit away. My next turn is going to be focused on shoving Micaiah all the way over here, which probably means I shouldn't have used her as the first shove, but it's okay. Frankly, she's not going to come down here. I just would like her support on Soth. And that's pretty much it. Alright, Tyronio. Let's equip a hand axe for the time being, and I will end my turn. So I don't mind if these Daeins clog up this area, and I also don't mind if they use these boulders at first, because it's going to help my cause concerning damage on all of these enemies, getting them back, healing up. It's funny, too, because most of the boulders are not in such a way that they would actually be all that useful. Like, this one's only hitting 4 dudes. Yes, that's decent, 10 damage to 4 separate units. But the problem is that, like, for instance, the first one was only 2. The second one is only 3. Well, this one here. So, not the second. The first one was 2. The third one was only 3. This one's only 3. So, yes, it helps. But there are definite lines of units that would better benefit from these boulders hitting. I can see one line to my right, in fact, that looks like it needs to be hit. So the problem is having these yellow units halted or having them gather around Micaiah, which is not a bad idea either. Sometimes I do that particularly to get them out of my way so that they don't stay down there where I want to put Soth, is that they won't heal or they won't throw down the boulders and so on and so forth.
Blast! We're being ambushed. I should have known. What is happening? We're under attack. We will engage them now. Please stay inside the carriage, Your Majesty. Someone go tell General Ike.
Yeah, Sigrun and Tanith are here. I don't think that the Apostle is actually in that carriage. I think if you defeat Sigrun, I don't think it does anything particularly. Because that's the thing, is you can actually defeat the enemies of opposing parties on these chapters, and all they do is retreat. I find that interesting. It's probably for the best, because yes, you wouldn't want to necessarily lose your units that you're going to use in other parties particularly. But I also think it would be interesting if there was a mode in this game where all deaths were permanent, in the sense that you could KO the enemies. Like, for instance, Micaiah. Could you imagine if Micaiah is the boss and you defeat her? How interesting that would necessarily have to be. It would completely change the story. I would love that. I would love a changed story. The problem with modern gaming, I was thinking about this earlier, is that modern gaming gets rid of the whole idea of having things like guide-in chapters or hidden content. And the reason why is because most modern gaming has all the content up front or as DLC or microtransactions and such, which I don't like. So old school games like Thracia, for instance, Thracia has 8 guide-in chapters and 100 billion things that are hidden content. Just so much hidden content in that game. But the reason why that was is because old school games didn't have things like DLC to pad the content. So what happened is that game is wholly designed that in such a way that you are supposed to play it multiple times, multiple run-throughs. Like, this game is technically designed that way because you're not going to see everything this game has to offer unless you do play at least twice. However, there is also the fact that technically you have to play Path of Radiance in such a way in that game, and then play this game with transferred content from Path of Radiance that has been played in such a way in order to get every bit of content this game has to offer, which almost borderline is like the DLC concept. Of course, it's not the exact same because you are getting 2 whole, separate, complete, non-shoehorned in games, but, and I'm not even complaining about it because I think it's cool, the transferring. I don't ever use it per se. I used it a long time ago, I just don't now, because I don't find it necessary or useful for my own case. Even on the hardest difficulty in this game, you would be hard-pressed to find an instance where you need the extra stats that you would get from a transfer of Path of Radiance. You'd be very hard-pressed. Though, you're likely not to see me ever play hard mode in this game. It's possible. I'm just saying it's likely not going to happen, and the reason why that is because hard mode on this game is not really Fire Emblem. To my understanding, the weapon triangle is gone.
as well as the fact that not only is the weapon triangle gone, which is very unfortunate. Oh, you know what I just realized? Micaiah can't even move. I'm going to have to do something of this nature. This is fine, because this means that I get to heal with her. But what happens is that the transfers, or the Fire Emblem, it doesn't have the weapon triangle in this game, so it doesn't match necessarily my standards for what I would call a truer experience of Fire Emblem. And I know not every game has weapon triangle, but it was removed in this game in the harder difficulty just for a sake of quote-unquote balance, you could say. I don't really care for that, especially because it's just kind of silly nonsense. Alright, knife, iron knife, thrower, tosser. Wow, I'm doing like literally no damage with Soth right now, which is unfortunate, because he needs some experience points as well. He's got 10 levels still to go. I would bonus experience points him if absolutely necessary. But considering that, you know, he's basically, as it appears, wow. You know what I just realized? Micaiah is deleteriously... I guess I could put her here. Yeah, Micaiah is in the way here. So I just don't like it, because it removes the weapon triangle, but it also makes it so that you cannot see movement spaces or attack ranges of enemies. Counting the spaces is such an utterly boring and horrendous thing to do. It's one of the reasons why I absolutely adore the Little Monster balance or rebalance or translation patch of Thracia. Makes the game not purist in a sense, but it doesn't really particularly matter in my case, because I would far and away prefer the game to have a bit more knowledge given to the player, whereas normally you have very little knowledge given to the player in Thracia, which is fine. I'm not saying that's bad either, because there's been many times, many times I've played that game without that balance patch, even after I've gotten it, after I've gotten the... It's not a balance patch, it's a quality of life patch. And there's even been times where I played it long before there was even good translations out, and I played it when it was in Japanese only, and basically had to look up the story to the best of folks' abilities or knowledge of such. It wasn't great. I didn't necessarily enjoy that way of going about it, but the gameplay is so good that in that case, I was still able to say, you know what? This is still worth playing. Was it worth playing a lot? No. I only did that maybe once. I think twice, actually twice. But afterwards, I was just like, you know, I'm getting a translation patch. I don't even care if it's a bad one. And that was around the time that there were talks of a better patch coming out. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait. I waited, and my patience was rewarded. I hate the older patch of Thracia. I also hate... I don't even really care for Project Naga on Genealogy, but the older patch of Genealogy is terrible. Granted, you know, it was the best that folks had for the longest time. So there is something to say about that. And people did work hard on it, but the problem is that I'm too much of a purist concerning the way that this series was made, the theme, the function behind it, the romanticized medieval Europe, the whole ideas behind Fire Emblem, to sit back and play one of these games where everybody's talking like a 2020s teenager, and it just makes me it makes me not want to play the game. Even Project Naga has little hints of that, where you'll have people saying things like, "Oh damn," you know, like a teenager. I'm not even talking about necessarily just saying that word, but just talking like a teenager. And it's it does not jive with these games. I don't care what. It's one of the reasons why you'll also never see me play something like Engage or Three Houses on this channel. I played Three Houses once. It's one of my first playthroughs. Wasn't really a Let's Play because I didn't speak in it at all. But you'll just never see me play them. If you don't like my complaints towards some of the things I don't like about Ike and Micaiah, you would hate, and I mean absolutely hate, listening to me play those games. And that's really all I can say about that matter. However, this is that time of episode where I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow or like and subscribe depending on your platform. And while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.